Come on in, everyone. It's got a packed house, but there's some seats over in the corners. I'm Tom Gillis. I'm the general manager for infrastructure and security. So thanks all for coming. You ever been to a music concert and they bring a comedian out before the band, you know? That's what's going on here, right? So I'm the warm-up act, you know. Come on in, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a great show. The main event is here. They're on stage. Before I turn it over to the professionals, I wanted to just ask, just a show of hands, who saw the keynote demo this morning? Ooh, lots of people. Okay, show of hands, who wanted to see the keynote demo this morning but was too hungover, didn't make it? No one. Look at that. No, okay, one person. All right, so I get a sense for the level of honesty. The point of the demo this morning was to really illustrate the power of the platform. Right? And the thing I liked the most was we showed a firewall melted into a switch. And it's not like we reinvented the firewall. We invented the way you use the firewall. Click, there it is, boom. No hairpinning traffic, no futzing around with another box. And the idea here is that you're going to be able to put little tiny firewalls everywhere. Right? Lots and lots and lots of these. And boy, that matters more in a post-Mythos world. Lots of segmentation because you got to control the blast radius. Okay? That, to me, was one half of this platform story. The other half of this platform story is when we federate Splunk into those little firewalls, and now there's no ingestion to be able to observe the traffic. And this is just one example. This is all stuff that you can test and see and touch and evaluate for yourself. But this is an example of how we put these pieces together, and it delivers a solution that I think is going to allow you to deliver a better security outcome with less operational cost, less complexity, right? So it's the power of simplicity that doesn't compromise sophistication. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my good friend, Peter Bailey. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so everyone got ice cream, right? I did not. So if someone could shave some ice cream, I'm an ice cream guy, towards the end, that'd be great. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. We're going to dive right into it. We have some guests today. We got a lot of content to get through, so settle in. So talking to a lot of analysts, talking to press, talking to customers, and this first one is the one that has been coming up a lot for all of you probably as well. So we're going to talk about three things today, but it's really around the three things that are kind of occupying our minds, occupying how we think about security, and it's the Mythos moment, and we'll dig in that a little bit here in a second. It's the open cloud moment, which is really all about, okay, in the last 6 months, we've gone from not a lot of agentic use to, oh my gosh, a lot of agentic use. And then the need for speed. And then ultimately, is for the folks that are practitioners, you know this well, is as we get to these machine speed attacks by very sophisticated agents, we got to be able to respond at speed too. And probably that's one of the biggest challenges we have as practitioners and in the industry. So we're going to talk about these three things today. But first, I want to talk about, from a Mythos perspective, like what are the implications? So if you take a step back, this is not just about vulnerabilities and whatnot. This is about the beginning of very advanced agents that can operate at speed and do things only the best threat actors can do today, and perhaps far better. Okay, and we knew this was coming, but we didn't know when. And Mythos really, for me, is not just about vulnerabilities. It's about, okay, we're here. It's now. Now is when we have to start thinking about how we're going to protect ourselves, very soon, right? Because, the threat actors will distill these models if they get their hands on them, and 3-6 months down the road, we're going to start seeing these kind of capabilities. And for us, we were involved in Glasswing. We've used these models extensively. They're very powerful. It's the real deal, okay? So the first step in that is we are going to harden our systems, and we're actively doing that. This is like code red, harden systems, let's go, right? But what comes after that? Because we're going to go through a cycle of patching, and that's just an operational burden we have to get through as a group, and we're going to do everything we can as a team to go fast on that, but we've got to harden these systems. But what comes later? And that's where Live Protect comes in, and hopefully folks saw this in the demo this morning and heard about this, but in essence, we've been able to take some of our technology, the Tetragon agent technology, and embed it on our switches and routers, on all of our products for that matter. And that technology allows us, when we find a vulnerability, to create a shield. And we can push a shield down into the product without having to actually perform a reboot, right? Without having to go through kind of a change window. And so those shields will block that errant process that is not something that you want to happen. And so we can start saying, find a vulnerability, turn it into a shield in hopefully hours or minutes, and push it down to our customer or potentially even directly to the product, depending upon that operational cadence. And so that's a huge advantage of closing the gap between finding a vulnerability and being able to remediate it effectively. And so again, but the point is, because I want to be super clear, this is about buying time, okay? We're not going to have 1,000 shields on this for the end of time. We still want you to patch, but we want you to be able to do it in a normal window when there's time, okay? So this is a really cool capability and something that we're super excited about. It's on Nexus now. We have over 1,000 customers with it on Nexus. It's rolling across all of our products. So super excited about this. Just want to call this out as well. Armaden, leading AI red teaming company founded by my good friend Kevin Mandia, for folks who know him. We've also got them in the mix too, just to act as a third-party validator of these shields, because we're testing these shields, making sure the exploit's blocked. It's great to also have a third party that's doing this stuff at scale also be validating these shields too. And so we're sharing threat research with them, things we're seeing in the wild, as well as partnering on this shield activity. So really excited to have a collaboration now with Armaden. So also in this kind of shields up discussion, we have to talk about quantum. We've talked about this a lot, but we kind of put this out of our minds certainly in the last 6 months. But quantum is coming, early 30s, mid 30s, what have you, and so we've got to prepare for that. And so in our case, there's both software and firmware updates that we are providing into our products. Basically, you want to be able to make sure that your encryption just can't be picked by these quantum models, right? And so you'll be able to support these more advanced encryption capabilities. So that's number one. And then number two is being able to support secure boot that is not going to be able to be broken into by these models too. So secure the product and make sure these encryptions can run. And also give you crypto agility so that as we introduce additional algorithms down the road, more advanced algorithms, we can support those as well. So we are fast deploying this across our products. Some already have these capabilities. By the middle of next year, middle of 2027, we expect to be through our portfolio, and that's, I think, well in advance of the time we're going to have to face these things in the early 30s to mid 30s. Okay? Cool. Let's talk about agents. So agents, we know, are going to live everywhere. They're going to traverse the network. They're going to go interact with workloads, interact with data. They're going to be sitting on our endpoint, right? And so we're going to need visibility everywhere to be able to provide security, right? And so what is a great way to get visibility? What is everywhere? What is connected everywhere? Everything runs across, of course, the network, right? And so we believe that in this next era, the network is going to become even more important relative to how we can build security outcomes. That visibility is a baseline foundation where we can see connectivity between things. And by the way, if you add identity to that mix, now I know what is connecting A is connecting to B, and I know the identity of these things and have rich metadata about that, then I can much more easily say that's good, that's bad, and we can take action from a security perspective. So we believe the network's going to be very, very important. And so, of course, now we're talking about infusing security into the network. As Tom just talked about, that could be sitting on a smart switch. We can think of lots of other ways we can do detection. We can think about segmentation. But it needs to be designed into the system because, again, what we're preparing for is agents running at scale, but also agents running at machine speed. And so the closer to the action we can get, the more we can design this into our systems, the better security we're going to have. And so this secure networking is really how we think about how we're building going forward. So whether it's resilient infrastructure, whether it's identity being infused in everything, we'll talk more about this a little bit later. Also things like segmentation or traffic steering. Hey, I want to take a sampling of traffic and steer it through a firewall, pull it apart and see what's in there. Protection, obviously threat protection, all these protections we have in place with our portfolio. And then very, very importantly, the visibility across everything and the insights, what Splunk can bring to the table. All of these things factor into secure networking and how we're going to approach security for this next era. And of course, secure networking also informs the platform. If I can advance the slide. So we're using secure networking as a foundation for our security platform. And so our security platform, we're thinking about how do we protect all of infrastructure and assets, but also protect users. We're using AI for operations. We're using identity across all of that infrastructure so we better understand what it is, what it's talking to. And we're using, of course, our threat intelligence to help provide us knowledge of what to look for, to build ML models, to detect things at machine speed, et cetera. And then, of course, being able to detect and respond also at machine speed. This is the platform. This is how we can bring things together to protect against and provide security in this agentic future. And so digging a bit more into security for agents, we really think about three framings. Protecting agents from the world, protecting the world from agents, and as I said before, detecting and responding at machine speed. So we're going to dig in these a little bit further. So agents touch a lot. Web pages, emails, user prompts, tools, skills, APIs, and other agents. It's like hiring a brilliant intern, giving them a badge, a laptop, giving them access to the infrastructure and saying, go run a process. And with guardrails, maybe that's a good idea, but without guardrails, probably not. Because every one of these inputs can trick the agent. A web page can lie, an email can manipulate, a tool can be compromised, another agent can pass along bad instructions. So how do we protect against that? And so just like we built email security and endpoint security and MFA and web security to protect human users, we need the same protections for agentic as well. They're a new class of user, and they need protections. And so about a year and a half ago, we introduced AI Defense, which is full life cycle protection for agentic developers, right, for the developers. So we're talking about discovery, supply chain, automated red teaming, and also runtime protection. And so this week is one of the innovations we've added is new capabilities with AI Defense. So first of all, customization of how you can run security, red teaming and guardrails to fit kind of the unique needs of the customer's environment. Also enhanced supply chain security that automatically defines dependency risks and also checks risks more broadly. And then finally, broader coverage across different environments. So we want to be able to support where the work is happening across different platforms where the agentic development is happening. And we're also super excited, if I can get the slide going here, there we go, to announce an exciting new partnership we have with Workday. And they're using AI Defense to help protect their newly announced agent marketplace. And so to help me talk about this, I'm really excited to have Gabe Monroy, my ex-colleague from Google, on stage, who's now the CTO of Workday. Gabe, come on up. Good to see you. Thank you. Thanks for being here. So tell us about what you guys have built.
Yeah, so excited to announce Agent Passport. And so Agent Passport is our answer to, how do we help customers, understand and for a given agent, who has tested that agent, to what standard and what capability, and how do we guarantee that governance across the entire platform? So in the case of Workday, we deal in the space of people and money, right? So you think an agent that's going to touch a payroll run or an agent that's going to touch your org chart. The stakes are really high, right? And so what we need is a cryptographically secure attestation and a way for us to sort of validate that these agents are actually living up to the behaviors that we expect, because that's what our customers in the Fortune 500 expect from us.
Yep, absolutely. And so you've chosen AI Defense. Off stage, you kind of said you did go through a process for that. So how did you arrive at AI Defense? What's it doing for you?
Yeah, and so as you can imagine, Agent Passport is really designed to be much more broadly applicable to just behavioral capabilities of agents. But obviously the first place we wanted to start was security, right? That's the thing customers are asking for. So for us, it was really about prompt injection, jailbreak attacks, data exfiltration, all the stuff that I think is really keeping CIOs up at night today. And so we did a very rich evaluation of a lot of vendors in this space.
This is true, by the way.
This is actually true. I talked to my team back here. And what we uncovered was that AI Defense was the leading product for us. But also what the team shared with me as well was they were really impressed not just with the product's capabilities today, but with the amount of research that was happening and sort of the approach just underneath the product. So they felt really good that it's not just where AI Defense is today, but it's where it's going to be in 12 or 18 months. And that's why we decided to partner with you guys to help bring this capability out to market.
Amazing. Great. Thank you so much, Gabe. Thanks
Awesome.
for being here.
Yes.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very cool. Did not pay him to say any of that. You can have ice cream, though. There's ice cream outside. That's okay. So in addition to building their own agents, we're also seeing a surge in customers deploying OpenClaw, Codex, Cloud Code, and they run at the endpoint. And so at RSA, we introduced DefenseClaw. And you can think of that as modern runtime protection for these endpoint agents. And it looks at prompts being sent and examines those prompts, looks for malicious prompts. And then if you want to connect a new skill or a new MCP server, we'll scan that as well and make sure that that's not a bad idea effectively. And so we're really excited to announce actually the enterprise version of DefenseClaw this week as well. And so one of the biggest enhancements of this is the guardrails for prompts and prompting the agent. So in the open source version, bring your own LLM, and then we had provided security and privacy prompts that we'd released. But for the enterprise version, we have now adaptive guardrails and adaptive enterprise security capabilities and safety and privacy for the models. And then the fact that this is part of Secure Client matters not just for protecting the agents, but also because Secure Client is integral to how we're providing our Zero Trust access platform. And so it provides visibility and posture. It's also the VPN client, the ZTNA client, digital experience management, and more. So we're going to talk a bit more of this later, but Secure Client is really a key aspect of our Zero Trust platform offering. So when we think about agents, it's easy to focus just on the applications and the models, but protecting agents is actually a full stack problem. Agents run an infrastructure, and usually that infrastructure is Kubernetes. And for many organizations, that represents a blind spot. So if the infrastructure the agent is running on is compromised, the agent is compromised. And so we have brought some of our technology that we were also using for Live Protect, this eBPF capabilities. This is what's powering Isovalent and Hypershield. And we're injecting eBPF so that we can get visibility down to the process level and the ability to use that for segmentation. And so we can also deliver runtime shields to help protect these environments. And so this is a means by which we can help protect those critical workloads that are running AI. But that's also not enough. The agent security goes even beyond full stack, right? These things are running in data centers, and we have workloads communicating with other workloads. And if one workload is compromised, guess what? It's going to compromise other things in the data center. So segmentation. Segmentation becomes even more important in this environment. And so this eBPF agent capability also enables us to drive segmentation for those attack surfaces. And so really we think of segmentation as a critical, at the network, but also at the workload level, a critical capability going forward to ensure that we don't see these workloads infecting one another. No longer optional. And so bringing this all together, this is why the Cisco Hybrid Mesh Firewall is so important, because it actually brings together all these capabilities. Visibility down to the process level, ability to understand workloads, their network context and identity, the ability to segment what should talk to what, the ability to apply runtime protections and reduce the paths that can be used to reach things we don't want them to reach. And all of that comes together in Hybrid Mesh Firewall. Together with comprehensive, rich visibility and identity that we get, this is a unified platform that we can provide with intent-based policy and enforcement across all infrastructure. So think about that. Intent-based policy through a policy plane to enforce across all the infrastructure. That simplification, that unification of policy as a platform is a really important concept too, because as these networks get more complicated and more distributed, as we have more assets to protect, policy becomes a friction point. Policy is incredibly uncomplicated. This is why also microsegmentation has really struggled to get vast adoption, because the policy in itself represents huge cost. So if we can create policy unification and still be able to push policy, whether it's to a workload or across the network to a firewall, that represents a huge innovation. And then automating policy creation becomes the next step. And that is the path that we are on with Hybrid Mesh Firewall. And of course, Hybrid Mesh Firewall exists in Cisco Cloud Control. That's where it resides. So that brings us to the second pillar, which is protecting the world from agents. So we want agents to be able to do lots of things, connect to lots of things, but we also don't want them running amok. And again, back to our OpenClaw moment, we all read the fun articles about people set this up, and all of a sudden OpenCloud was opening up all their emails, using their credit cards, and doing all sorts of crazy things. And so, we've got to put controls around this, obviously. If we think about how we've done this for humans, historically, we've said, okay, we're going to give access controls to John. John, you can come in and use this application. And those tend to be persistent access privileges, right? That doesn't work in an agentic world. In an agentic world, the agent has no judgment. It can go anywhere and everywhere. If you give it permission to use your credit card to make a travel booking, maybe it turns around and buys $50,000 of tokens for its Moltbot clan, right? You don't know. And of course, whereas a human has consequences, an agent does not, right? And so we've got to have different controls. So we go from an access controls, when we think about humans, to action controls. And so the foundation of agent security, as with zero trust, is identity. We need to know every agent. Even better, assign a persistent agent ID backed by some cryptographic certificate that must be presented for all of its service requests. And more this kind of cryptographic certificate that you might see in more machine-to-machine type scenarios, we see that happening broadly for agents, for users, for everything down the road. That is a best practice I think we're going to see emerge here. And to know every agent, you first have to discover them. And so how do we discover agents? We look at APIs, we look at traffic, we look at endpoints to pull a fuller picture of where agents are running, what they're connected to, what credentials they can use, and what they can reach. And then those agents need to be registered to an owner so we can create some accountability and then govern through a life cycle. And this is where intent to acquire asterisk becomes really important. So asterisk is the leading security for non-human identities. So discovery, the threat research to understand what it is they're looking at, and the ability to secure non-human identities. And non-human identities are a wonderful proxy, guess for what? Agents. And so in the last 12 months, they've pivoted their whole platform to agents and have an agent control plane. And so we're bringing this into the platform as well to provide additional capabilities around our ability to detect, discover, and secure agentic activity. So we're super excited about these guys joining the team. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, it'll be official. So we support a few different types of agents. The first is what we can think of as a delegated agent. So John's agent gets a predefined subset of John's permissions to act on his behalf. We're announcing this week a new type of agent, a role-based agent. Think of a SOC agent or a troubleshooting agent. They get permission associated with that role as opposed to associated with a user. Come on. So, and once we know the agent, and once the agent has an identity, the next question is, how do we enforce what the identity is allowed to do? So there's an important principle. We don't want the agent to have long-lived tokens, long-lived standing privileges, so to speak, right? We talked about ephemeral types of privileges, ephemeral certificates. So we're trying to avoid this problem of persistent access. So instead, the identity system needs to define the agent, its owner, its role, and the guardrails around which it's allowed to do. And Cisco Secure Access Agent Gateway, also announced this week, enforces those permissions as the agent acts. So as an agent works, it may interact with an LLM, MCP tools, SaaS APIs. Secure Access Agent Gateway sits in the path and evaluates that request before it proceeds. It asks, who is the agent? What is it trying to access? What action is it trying to take? And when a credential is needed, the agent does not receive it directly. In fact, tokens and API keys stay within Cisco's vault. Secure Access injects the right credentials at the right time server side, never in the hands of the agent, and keeps that standing privilege problem out of scope. And the important thing is that we're not just delivering these capabilities as yet another point product in our platform. This is all part of our zero trust access architecture. This matters because you don't want one access model for users, another for devices, another for workloads, and another for agents. Instead, you can have one architecture that can securely connect users and agents and the applications and data that they need. And the foundation of that architecture is Cisco SASE, the integration of SD-WAN and secure access. But so rather than me just talking about this, I'm going to invite my next guest to the stage, Derek Shaw, who's the CIO of H.B. Fuller. Derek, come on up. Good to see you. What's going on?
It's great to be here, Peter. I appreciate the invite. It's an honor to be here, be at Cisco Live again. Always great energy, a lot of excitement around the new announcements. So it's just a great opportunity to be here.
Well, we appreciate you coming out here.
Yeah.
So you were early pioneer, arrows in the back, users of secure access, and we've been on a journey with SD-WAN as well. Please tell us about that journey.
Yeah, so our business, we're in the business of manufacturing glue. So we make glue for cars, for electronics, for roofs, for windows, hygiene products, medical. We make glue for just about everything. And so our business has manufacturing spread throughout the world. So we have about 110 locations right now, and we're on every continent except Antarctica. So we just finished a project to implement ICE to segment all of our operations technology from our IT network. We have a lot of critical systems that we had to make sure we're secure. So the next obvious step for us was to pursue zero trust. It's something we felt strongly about. One, for all the reasons you all know about zero trust, why you would do it, that's the obvious answer. Two, we wanted to simplify our architecture. And three, we wanted a better employee experience. Yeah. So we saw what Cisco was doing. We're in Vegas. There's a lot of betting going on down the hallway. Some of those bets are very high risk. We bet on Cisco. We said, you know what? If anyone's going to get this right, it's Cisco. We saw it as a very low risk to move forward with Cisco in that partnership. We were already customers with Umbrella, and we saw a great migration path from Umbrella right into secure access.
And you were basically a design partner for us, and so we thank you for that. And I know you just sort of completed a deployment, and then you've also now adopted SD-WAN. So tell us about that.
We did. So when I think about our 110 locations around the globe, we had a mix at the routing layer. So we had some Meraki devices, we had some Catalyst devices, we had some non-Cisco devices. We were using SD-WAN, but it was not Cisco. And then we had Cisco Edge firewalls at all those locations. And so as we rolled out secure access, we said, you know what, now's the time to take that next step. So we made the bold move to replace all routers at all 110 locations. We went with a Catalyst 8200 for every single location. We took out all of our Edge firewalls. We took out all those other routing devices. We implemented Cisco SD-WAN. Great partnership between the Cisco engineering team and our team where we sat down and came up with the ultimate rollout design. We did 90% of those 110 locations in 10 weeks. We averaged 5 minutes of downtime to do the switch, and we had 0 unexpected downtime. And I can't make this up, the last one went in yesterday. So we are now 100% secure access, 100% Cisco SD-WAN.
That's amazing, super cool. Well, every deployment goes like that, so it's great. No, it's super exciting. So then you've also started using agents internally, have some agentic development. Tell us about your journey there.
Absolutely. So like everyone else, generative AI came out. We were dabbling in generative AI, and now we've transitioned into agentic AI. And we've got some agents out there, some of them doing internal things, some of them are doing external things. And as we have these new digital workers that are going about doing their business, we have to think about, how do we protect this? And I think having an identity for them and understanding what they have access to, same thing, zero trust, right? Yep. Treat them like an employee, and what do they need really have access to? And we just rolled out a new agent a couple of weeks ago. I was talking to Gabe before we started. If anyone wants a free idea on how to do a really cool agent that your company will love, come find me. I'll give you a free hint if you're just getting into the agent space.
You should tell them. This is a really cool idea.
This is what we did. So someone asked internally, we had this conversation like, hey, I think we have something on our website that's inconsistent. We have this old article and a new article. So we literally created an agent and said, hey, just go read our entire website and find anything that's inconsistent and just give us the report. I mean, that would be so hard for a human to do.
Yes.
So a human would have to read every single page and remember what they read, and when they read the new page, go, wait, was that different or the same? I don't know.
Well, and also, a company like Cisco has been around 40 years. I mean, our website probably has technical documents going back 30 years that are, at this point, outdated, wrong, the different product sheets that we've got,
Yeah, I don't think a human could do it. So we wrote in a simple agent, very easy to write, go read our entire website and give us a list of all the inconsistencies, and then we can go and fix them. And then the next evolution of that is the agent can say, do you want me to fix it?
Awesome.
Sure, yes or no. So,
very cool. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Okay, man, I am right on time. We are crushing this. Okay. All right, so we have actually one more presenter we're going to bring up on stage. And so this is about transitioning to our third pillar, the need for speed, right, and detection and response. And so for that, I'm going to bring up our SVP and GM for Splunk Security, John Morgan.
Yeah,
You bet. Have fun.
now we noticed that Peter may have problems with his clicker, so we brought another one. So I'm just going to put that one there. All right, so in the next 10 minutes, approximately, I want to talk to you about resilience at the Security Operations Center, or the SOC, as we call it. Now, that's a real important part of the platform. And I want to connect three realities that every security leader right now is actually facing. And that is 1, AI-powered attackers, 2, expanding exposure, and 3, the need for speed, as Peter said, the need to respond at machine speed. That's extremely important. And my clicker does work, so that's fantastic. All right, so Mythos class attackers have obviously created a high sense of urgency for us, and we need to approach security in a slightly different way when it comes to our defenses. But the reality is that Mythos was generally just about vulnerabilities. Now, I don't want to say just about. We know that's an important aspect, and we have a lot of things to solve there. But attackers don't care how they get in. That's just one important vector. The more general issue is that AI-powered attackers now have access, and they can more easily exploit multiple attack vectors, right? So 3 that particularly stand out in particular is 1, vulnerabilities. They can be discovered, as Peter mentioned, and exploited much faster than we can actually fix them. So we've got compensated controls and live protect and things that you just heard about, extremely important to us. Number 2 is machine speed, and I'm categorizing this as an attack vector because now attackers can actually utilize AI to create alert storms or to just obfuscate the signal within the noise, or just quite frankly outpace a human responder, right? Someone who needs coffee, well, the attacker in this case doesn't. The third is people continue to remain the front door. Social engineering, phishing, and now we have agents, as Peter was just talking about, that are now, I believe, your biggest insider threat. So these are just 3 big examples of attack vectors that's now powering AI, motivation. But of course, that's not their goal, right? Their goal is not the vectors. So what do we do at the Security Operations Center? Well, this is a bit, this is where resilience comes in, and why I like the word resilience at the SOC, is you must assume perpetual attacker presence. You have to assume that you're constantly being exploited. And the goal in that case is to make sure they don't achieve their objective, right? So they may exploit, they may get in through a vector, but don't let them achieve their objective, right? That's a real important aspect of what our strategy is here. So I want to tie some of the latest Splunk capabilities to those 3 attack vectors and tell you a little bit about what we're doing. 1, exposure analytics. We're discovering assets on the network, tying them to risk, and then making those visible to you. The Agentic SOC. Clearly, that's about triaging, investigating, and responding at machine speed. And automated phishing threat remediation, right? This is a scalable analytics platform that can help you remediate phishing attacks very efficiently. So these are not 3 disconnected features. These are coordinated capabilities that are in response to a changing attacker landscape at this point. You have to know what's exposed, you have to know what's actually happening, and you have to respond at machine speed, and you have to respond quickly, right? That's the main strategy. So let's go a little bit deeper on exposure and security posture management, kind of what we're doing there. In many environments, it's the case that the asset map and the risk is actually stale, right? It's not kind of kept up with reality, especially when it's time to be using it at the Security Operations Center. The cloud changes, IT, OT, IoT changes pretty quickly. Devices come up. Legacy systems persist, unfortunately, far too long, which creates issues for us. And correlating identities along with those assets and how they've been used over time, whether those be machine identities or whether they be human identities, that's something that is very difficult to do. So security needs a living view of risk, not a quarterly snapshot, right? There's just no way. So our practices have to change when it comes to this. So exposure analytics is using existing Splunk data that's already in the platform. And what it's doing is it's continuously discovering those entities, those assets, those users, how they're correlated with one another. And that's a pretty important aspect of that. It enriches those assets with, are the right security controls on them, right? Are there vulnerabilities associated with them? And many other aspects that we would consider risky, right? And we use, as Splunk, we use all the signals coming in to do that, from third parties, from our own signals, et cetera, and our analytics. That's really important. That helps the security engineer. Obviously, they can mitigate the risk before it becomes active. And at the Security Operations Center with an analyst, that's extremely important because now they have context where they can actually prioritize risk better. If they know something is high risk and high stakes, they've got a number of alerts to handle, well, now they can prioritize them quite a bit better. So that's important. Fewer blind spots, better prioritization, and a clear risk of posture as it actually evolves in the environment. So that's a little bit about what that is. So if exposure shows you where the risk is hiding, then the Agentic SOC, that's actually helps you move fast when that risk is actually active, right? That's a really important part of this. Now, what we're doing with the Agentic SOC is we're protecting against the capabilities of AI attackers who can operate at speed and at volume and at sophistication that just outpaces humans, clearly. So the Agentic SOC has 3 layers. One is the Agentic AI and automation, and this is about a suite of agents with an orchestration harness that operates within human policy, and that's really important to operate within human policy. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then an analytics and tooling layer, which has the detection capabilities, threat intelligence, which is super important, and context and transparency as well. So layer 3 is an open, high-scale data platform. More importantly, more context is associated with that layer. And that's kind of wrapped in a trusted AI capability. So this is designed to give you a lower mean time to detect. More importantly than detecting is getting a verdict. More importantly than getting a verdict is actually getting a remediation. And more importantly than that is just containment, right? So you want to measure all of these things, and you want to make sure that you're actually reducing them quite dramatically. That's the key to that. So operating at machine speed. And this is interesting because Peter just talked to you about judgment, right? The lack thereof. It was crossed out on that slide. What our Agentic SOC is designed to do is actually make sure humans are involved where judgment matters most, okay? So that's an important aspect of the overall design. Get humans in to make the judgment when you actually need it. So what we've been announcing, and I think what was showed to everyone who was at the keynote, if you were there, was we're announcing more controlled autonomy within our Agentic SOC. So triaging, prioritization, making sure that deep investigation can happen with pre-approved human policy, of course, that's really important. And so if you think about what is pre-approved human policy, when would I allow tier 1 analyst kind of work to be automated all the way through remediation? Think about the remediation that is low blast radius, high confidence, low risk, reversible. There's a number of them. You could make a pretty big list, and you can make a case that these things should be automated, and they're normally at a tier 1 level. Tier 3 and things that are more sophisticated, past the human judgment, all right? That's the key there. So in an era of AI armed attackers, we need speed, clearly, but we also need confidence, and the Agentic SOC is designed to deliver both. That's the key behind it. There's a lot of details there, but that's what the key design principle is. So AI-powered phishing turns any attacker into a convincing con artist, right? And that's that attack vector which now we're seeing quite a bit of. Talos, for example, in a report earlier this year showed that over 1/3 of their incident response engagements or IR engagements were actually, the first initial attack entry was through phishing, right? We know this is going to continue to increase as we move along. So automated phishing remediation, it does analysis. It uses agents to do reverse malware analysis as well, which is like you can take scripts, you can take links, you can take a number of things, feed it to the agent, and it'll give you the IOCs, and it'll tell you with confidence, what sort of threat level that particular element is. And this comes, these things come not only just through emails, but scripts, files, all kinds of different areas that they happen to come in. So this replaces traditionally what might be 3 products. Sometimes you'll have case management, SOAR, and then sometimes you'll have a sandbox, a separate sandbox for detonation, right? We put all that in one, a single workflow, and that does a few things. You contain faster, you're more resilient, and of course you're not stitching evidence across multiple tools as you're trying to figure things out. You tie that to your automated playbooks, and then you've got the automated revision capabilities. So that's an important aspect there. Now I want to talk about data architecture. And this is really important. So agentic AI, I'd say any decision making, but particularly agentic AI, it really depends on a solid data architecture because it can't make decisions that are, let me put it this way, garbage in, garbage out, right? And any company can say, hey, I got a bunch of agents, I'm going to connect it for you, and it's going to start spinning out some impressive things. And it might be impressive because it's fast. Who knows if it's accurate? If it doesn't have a good underlying data architecture to it, it's just guessing. All right, that's what's happening there. So there's 3 big shifts and why Cisco Data Fabric, powered by Splunk, matters. One is we're seeing an increase in volume, and we know it's growing. It's not practical. This is a very different architecture we're bringing to the market with Splunk now. It's not practical to ingest that data all in a single place in order to get analytical value out of it. So we want to make sure that we're actually allowing Splunk to meet data where it's at. Number 2, we're bringing more context. It's not just about data. It's how do you turn that data into knowledge and context. Number 3, how do you make it actionable? If it's not actionable and you can't respond, what difference does it make at that point, right? It's just data and knowledge sitting out there. All right, so if I were to put this in a context of the Cisco Data Fabric and the context of a security set of use cases, I'd say 1, federation. You may want to take your time-sensitive, threat real-time detection data, and you may want to put that in hot storage. Maybe a little more costly. Maybe it's got low latency. But then you put your warm data that you may want to only investigate in a different class of storage, and maybe your cold data, you put that in something that's very infrequently, more for compliance or longer-term retention kind of use cases in there. Context. So Cisco has an amazing visibility advantage, right, from the infrastructure to the network all the way through applications. And obviously Splunk being a center use case where we're attracting data from third parties as well, we have a capability to build a machine data lake, metrics, events, logs, traces. Now it's not just data, we're putting knowledge on that. We're putting knowledge graphs and other use case-based information on that machine data lake, and that gives the context and things that you could do like cross-domain use cases across security, observability, trusted AI, and you can bring that together, right? Very interesting set of use cases. And the third is actions. And this is where the knowledge and the data actually turn into AI, or to workflows and AI processing with APIs and a number of other things to it. And that's obviously what turns this into resilience and to detection and response, that action capability. What this really means, though, is that data strategy has now become security strategy. I can't emphasize that enough, right? It's a lot of what we put into this is how do we get the right efficacy out of the agents, and what kind of data underlying management do you need in order to do that? All right, last topic here that I want to talk about is we're integrating a use case. We're integrating Cisco Secure Firewall with sort of protocol depth logging into Splunk. This is things like DNS. You're going to get visibility like DNS attack threat hunting capabilities, tunneling detections, and other things built right into and kind of coming out of Splunk as pulled in from the firewall fabric. This is native logging, investigation grade data where you don't have to actually deploy other sensors in order to get it. So less deployment, less cost to do that. All right. So to quickly recap, the agentic SOC, with the right data, with the right context, with the right automation behind it, and human policy and the way that you govern that, that's how you're going to respond at machine speed. And that's what we're actually building a big part of the platform. Now let's see how this fits into Cisco's Agentic Ops platform, what we call Cisco Data Fabric. And to do that, I hope Peter didn't leave the room. I need him to come back. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, we are at time. Okay, so we've got to jam through a couple of things. Don't leave yet. There's a surprise at the very end. If you leave at your own risk, okay? But I'm going to jam through the next couple of slides here because we are at time. So first, I'm going to dive through a couple of big announcements this week, so I'm going to go fast on this. So first of all, Cisco Cloud Control, that announcement is hugely important for security. Security Cloud Control is the platform you do all of your security operations in. That is now plugged into Cisco Cloud Control. That gives us that platform experience for our customers. And again, I apologize, team. I'm going to go fast here. AI Canvas, obviously, then is a layer on top of that where you can use agentic agents alongside the user itself to actually do troubleshooting across the platform. So all of the data planes, if you will, are accessible to do troubleshooting and searching and correlating data. So super powerful. And then also we're introducing identity as a top-level capability in Cisco Cloud Control. So this is going to allow you to also do investigation, correlating identities across all the assets in your network. Super, super important. And identity becomes this anchor point for security going forward with agentic and beyond. And then finally, one of my favorites, Talos. This is an amazing team we have in our company. We have Talos Threat Hunting that originally was about the endpoint. It's been expanded to firewall and also identity. This is a team not looking at alerts. They're looking at weak signal, together with other weak signal, so to speak, to create findings. And those findings presented back to you as something we say, hey, you need to look at something like this. This is something that only really top-level threat hunters can do. And now this is presented back in a dashboard that a CISO can look at with details about the findings and know how to take action. So super cool as well. And so you put it all together, and we are building the security platform for the agentic era. So thank you so much for being here. Don't leave yet. Hold on, there's one more thing. If you're not a Cisco, two more things. Also agentic security. I think you all maybe saw this in one of the keynotes, but think about this as a top-level app that has visibility across all of your security controls in the network to look at the activity of agents, to be able to discover, to be able to monitor what they're trying to access, what they're trying to connect to, and be able to drive policy and take action. So this is a top-level application that looks down through everything else. So across different silos, a specific set of use cases for agentic security. Again, at the top level is an app available in Cisco Cloud Control. Okay, now one more thing. Thank you for being here. If you're not a Cisco employee, you can look under your chair and you might have a ticket for a free iWatch. And there's someone in the back of the room. Yeah, we got a winner. And there's someone in the back of the room you can present it to get your watch. Again, thank you so much for being here. You got ice cream, and you might have got a watch as well. What could be better? Thank you.